Hi, everybody. I am Waddie G from the G Listed. And right now, we're going through a tough time around the world with this COVID-19 coronavirus pandemic. It has interrupted our lives a lot. We're experiencing social shutdown, social distancing. We can't be around our friends, our family, our loved ones. Work. A lot of us have lost work. A lot of us are having to find jobs and such throughout this crisis. But most importantly, we have people who are affected by the COVID-19 coronavirus. And I'm speaking to a survivor who I know personally. We're both Brooklynites, and we've been hanging around for some years now. He is an entrepreneur. He bakes his own cheesecakes for sale, delicious cheesecakes, I must say. He also runs Airbnb, like does customer experience management with Airbnb properties, as well as a social group that we'll talk more about towards the end of this chat for men of color, I would say, in the LGBTQ community. His name is Rocheford Belizaire, but I love to call him Rock. So, Rock, welcome to the G Listed. How are you today? How are you feeling, by the way?
I'm feeling very well. I'm feeling really good. I feel energized. Happy that I am here today.
I'm happy too. Look, I'm sure you know people, and actually, one person in particular we'll talk about later that have been experiencing symptoms and illnesses around COVID-19. But I really want to talk about your experience as a survivor because, I love good news. And also, it was a shock for people like me because we know you, or people who know you, we know you to be super healthy and into fitness and a whole bunch of things. And we're going to get into that. I want to know just from the very beginning, what kind of symptoms did you have that let you know that something is really wrong with you that could be COVID-19?
Okay. Well, what I felt originally was like a flu-like symptom, but it seemed like as time progressed, within a day or so, it became like extreme. I had like extreme like headaches and body aches and a fever, and I couldn't really I couldn't like sit still or lay down or sleep, which is like very unusual. So I kept thinking like this is more than the flu. And if it's not a flu, then it has to be something else. And it might be COVID. I'm hoping it's not COVID. But the way I was feeling, I had like no energy, but lots of pain and a very odd feeling overall.
I can imagine it. How long was this going on?
Well, I mean, I think I would say like I think I felt something maybe like on a Wednesday or Thursday, and then like by the weekend I felt extreme. I just felt everything I was feeling before became almost doubled. So for a couple of days I was feeling like that before I found out what was going on.
And also, too, we were talking before, like last night about your ordeal and before this call. Um, this happened to you before we had to do the social distancing and businesses shutting down. Like here we live in New York City, so it started off where we were told to just when we were kind of getting nervous about
Yes.
what could be the spread here in New York City. We were told we could still go to work, go out. Before it was told that we couldn't be in places with more than 50 people. You were one of the first people who tested positive for this. So how shocked were you when you got that diagnosis?
Well, actually, I was really shocked because if you know me very well, I'm actually very funny about like germs. I'm kind of like a germaphobe, so I'm always cleaning up and sanitizing and washing. And I do recall like around the time I got it, I recall carrying sanitizer with me and using my elbows to open doorknobs, open doors, and everything else. So I kept thinking like I'm not gonna let myself get it. I'm gonna be very careful. And so when I got it, I was like, wow. I mean, like if I can get it, that means any average person can get it because I was being careful, but I still got it. So it was a total shock for me.
And not only you're a very clean person, I mean, you're very cautious about germs. you have a decent diet, then I would say probably than the average person compared to the average person. You
Mhm.
also do exercises. I know in the summertime, I know you to ride bikes and
Yeah.
be athletic. So when you told me this news, I was a bit shocked. I said, "Oh no, we got to talk about this because." And then also too, one of the things that would really surprise me is, if you don't mind sharing, you didn't have anything else going on health wise that was a threat to your immune system during the COVID-19 diagnosis. So just even knowing that you didn't have a disease or any other health ailments, you eat very healthy, you exercise, regularly. Were there any thoughts of this could be the end of your life?
Well, yeah, I mean, the thing for me is that, like originally, like it felt like a flu, then it became worse. Then at one point, I had like a really bad fever for like a couple of nights, and at one point, it went up to like almost like 105. And at that point in time, I got worried. I was kind of like wondering, I think it's time for me to go to the emergency room. I went to the emergency room, and they basically said to me, "Well, just keep taking Tylenol, and while you're here, we'll give you like a actual chest X-ray just to see what's going on with your chest and everything else, with your lungs." So I got the chest X-ray. At that time, I had just got tested for the coronavirus. I was still waiting for the test results. It took about 9 days to get the test results. But between
And
the
this
nine
was from
days,
your primary doctor where you did the one for 9 days. Okay.
yeah, he gave me a test there, but
Wow.
I had to wait about 9 days. He also gave me a flu test there. The flu test came out negative within the second day. But in theory, he was saying to me, because I failed the flu test, that most likely I would have coronavirus, but we didn't have the actual proof, you could say. So when I went to the emergency room, they gave me the chest X-ray, and they confirmed there's still the actual coronavirus on my lungs. That confirmed it. Because I was breathing
Wow.
properly. Yeah. So because I was breathing properly, they said, well, you know what, your lungs are fine. They sound empty. You should just go home and rest and just like take care of yourself. So I went home. I took Tylenol, but I still felt kind of bad because my fever kept on going up and down. So my doctor
Right.
called me the next day, saying to me, you know what, you must have another thing happening to you, like some kind of other infection. So he believed it was actually a bacterial infection. So he gave me some strong antibiotics, which was actually helped a lot because within 2 days my fever broke. So I
Okay.
guess so by having the coronavirus and the actual bacterial infection, the whole thing was prolonged overall. So it was kind of crazy. I was surprised, because again, I do eat healthy. I do try to keep myself healthy. But even though I was able to breathe on my own, unlike other people, I still had the other infection happening at the same time.
That you weren't even aware of.
No, I was not aware of. But luckily, my doctor actually, decided, you know what, you must have another infection. Let's take a chance. Just take these pills, see what happens. And within 2 days, everything started to change for the better.
And what kind of antibiotics did you take?
It was the penicillin. Penicillin.
Wow, just regular penicillin.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
because I remember reading some articles about 41 different types of drugs being tested for this from around the world
Yeah.
to see. And so when you said okay, everything started breaking 2 days after taking medication.
Yes.
About how long overall since being hospitalized, or let's just say going to see your doctor since you found the bacterial infection? How many days after that would you say it you started to feel back to normal, so to speak?
Yeah. I would say for taking the medication, it felt like about a good I'm gonna say a good 5 to 6 days, like maybe less than a week. I started to feel like because I had like no sense of smell or taste. I mean, I could smell certain things, but what I smelled, if it was food, it made me nauseous. I felt nauseous at times. I couldn't even eat any food because being around food made me want to just throw up, you could say. So what I ended up having was just oranges. So my thing was my go-to food was just oranges. I would have oranges all day long. That was it, nothing else. And by doing that, I actually shed 9 pounds just by eating oranges alone. So yes, but I would say it took me about maybe less than a week to say I was feeling like myself again. I was able to eat some more food. I started to have other cravings. So about 6 or 7 days overall from the time I went to the actual emergency room.
Jeez. And You were sharing with me too, if you don't mind talking more about it, about a friend that was helping you, and if you
Yes.
don't mind telling that story, because I don't, if you don't want to, I don't want to keep go
No,
further.
I don't mind. I mean, like I was kind of lucky because the other side of the story is that it seemed like my best friend and I got the infection around the same time. We're together.
Right.
Yeah, we actually were doing two things that week. It was like one day we had went to the movies, and this is before we actually had the whole ban of staying in the house, whatever else. So that same week we had went to the movies on a Tuesday, and we did like I think he felt something and I felt something, but we're like no biggie. And a couple of days later, him and I went shopping for grocery shopping just to get things in our home stocked up in case we had to stay in the house. So I think went shopping on that Friday. I think it was before the weekend. That Friday, he was feeling kind of sick, so I went to his house. I said, you know what, go to sleep. I'll take care of everything. Went to bed. I made him some soup. I put away his groceries. He felt kind of bad. He was tired. He felt like he had chills, had a fever. So he stayed in bed for 2 nights, and I stayed with him. And he got better within 2 nights. He got better. He was doing good, everything else. By the second night, I started to feel something. So on the third night, I was like a zombie. I couldn't really get up. I couldn't move. I was tired. I was hot. I was cold. I had a headache. I was sweaty. He was like, you know what? You stay in bed. I'll take care of you now. So by him being around and feeling better, he took care of me. There were times that I couldn't even feed myself. I was so weak I couldn't reach out for the food. I didn't have any hunger. So he would actually come in and actually spoon feed me. It's like, eat this food. You must eat this food.
Wow. Jeez whiz.
Yeah, really, without him around, I think I would have been like really a disaster. So it was a blessing to have him around.
And then you mentioned to me that he found out he too.
Yes, yes. So what happened was we thought he might have it, but because we thought if I have it, you gotta have it too. So I got tested before him. So when I got really bad, I got tested like the next day at my doctor's office. We share the same doctor, so he got tested the day after. So my test came out in about 9 days. I mean, unfortunately, I was told 4 or 5 days, but it took 9 days. And for him, his test came in about 6, 7 days. So for some reason, my test came out negative, unfortunately, and I knew something was wrong because I knew I had because I knew I failed the flu test.
Flu
So
test, yeah.
I had to have coronavirus. So I'm like, something must be wrong with this. And then his test came out positive. So I'm like, okay, we're both in the same area. We're both like, basically sharing the same apartment. So something has to be wrong. To kind of find out, my actual test was sent somewhere down south, and it took them about 7 to 8 days to get it there. It was supposed to stay frozen. So by the time it got there, it was not frozen. So whatever was going on was dead already. So, but luckily, when I went to emergency room, that particular week when I went to emergency room and they saw the coronavirus in my lungs, that confirmed it. Yeah.
That and also, did you find about the diagnosis while you were in the ER stay, or was it a day or two or so later?
Yes. Yeah. It's like I went to when I went to the ER when I had the high fever. They had gave me the chest X-ray, and then in the chest X-ray they actual coronavirus on my lungs.
I mean, but did they give you the news during your visit, or did
Yeah.
you learn after?
The same day,
Wow.
I was waiting for a little while. They came back and said, "Well, we see it on your lungs. It doesn't look too bad. Basically, you said you're breathing on your own. You're fine. Just go home and go home and rest overall."
So besides you and your friend, I mean, well, besides your friend knowing about what was going on with you, because fortunately, thank God he took good care of you and helped you get nursed to health, or at least, go see the help that you needed to get better. Did any family members or the friends, anybody else know, and how did they react?
Yeah, I mean, like, because my temperature got so high, I mean, I was trying to avoid scaring anybody. I felt like this coronavirus, if I'm breathing on my own, I should be okay. But when it got really bad, as far as my fever for a couple of days, I was like, you know what? It's time for me to call my friends and family. So I called my family and some close friends, and then of course they were all saddened. They were all kind of scared, especially when I had the high fever. My mother was a mess. I mean, when I saw her, as far as we communicated by video and conversation, she kept it together, but I learned later on that she was really, really afraid and scared about the fact that I had a high fever and then I might also die. So, she was, shedding some tears. My best friend shed some tears. I shed some tears because I kept thinking like, is this the end? I mean, I feel like it shouldn't be the end, but I had such a high fever for so many days and people are dying, watching the news every day, people are dying. I'm like, maybe I'm gonna die pretty soon. So I thought maybe at one point I could have been dead. But thank God with prayer and love and having my friend nearby, I made it through.
Definitely. And how is he doing?
He's actually this guy. He's doing great. He's like a runner. So every other day he's jogging. I'm like, wow, you're doing really good, man. So he's fine. He's like
Well,
really, really.
wait, so he's even exercising after getting healed from. I mean, because
Yeah.
I figured your recovery will take a while the way the reports are going.
Yes. I mean, it's funny because I mean, he's kind of like he's a pescatarian and he's like a big workout person. But so, I mean, I'm actually a workout person too. But he's actually my inspiration. Everything I'm doing as far as working out, even better because of him. But he's actually extreme a workout person, extreme health person. So plus, I guess he may have good genes because I don't know how within 2 days, I mean, 2.5 days, he was like breathing okay. His cold went away. The fever went away. He bounced back. I don't know how he did it, but for some reason he was good. Yeah.
Well, I'm very glad for both of you because it does give a positive spin to the people who are affected by this. Unfortunately, we are losing people, have lost people. We know people who are still hospitalized or still getting treatment, finding their healing through this process, and of course, their families and friends who are affected by it. Um, before we get into the New York Moonlight Men's social group, I wanted to know what kind of advice would you give to people who are going through a similar experience as you now, especially after seeking treatment and being on the mends?
Well, I mean, it's really like time, patience, and like for me, like trying to like keep the stress level down because at one point, watching these the news and everything else, and finding out people dying and the numbers getting really high, depressed me and actually kind of like stressed me out. So when I started to watch less TV or less things related to like a coronavirus, I had less stress. I was able to rest eventually. I took my medication, took my Tylenol, and my temperature went down. Took about a good overall like 7 days for all that to actually get to kind of like normalcy. But it just takes time. You just gotta like basically do your best to have people around you that care for you if you can, and basically have some patience. I mean, I can't really relate to a person who was hospitalized and maybe on some kind of a respirator. I can't relate to that. I mean, that's probably like the worst case scenario. For myself, it wasn't as bad, but overall, it is time, and hopefully, like some prayer too.
Absolutely. And you're talking about, just having people, loved ones around you or caring for you, caring about you. What kind of advice, being that you've gone through the stages and the phases of the illness, you've of course shared the news with family, they experienced the feelings of a loved one would. For you as a person who went through it, what kind of advice would you give to someone who has loved ones dealing with this as far as how to deal with their
Okay.
patient? I mean, with
Yeah.
their loved one.
Well, see, I know like for many people who have loved ones who are in the hospital, it's kind of hard to actually see that person because they're quarantined, and that's a big challenge. I have heard about doctors or nurses going into the actual room and maybe having some kind of live video so you can talk or communicate back and forth, which is great. Unfortunately for that, it's kind of hard to actually have that kind of communication. I mean, for myself, I was homebound, and I had the opportunity to actually get on the phone with my family, and we talked, we did video, we joked around, this and that kind of helps. It kind of helps. I mean, as far as to the family itself, I mean, it's complicated. I mean, like it all depends on the scenario. I mean, the best thing you can do is just have some patience and have hope. It's hard. I mean, I can't really give them the correct answer because they all have different scenarios. And
Right.
again, if the family's in the hospital, that's even more complicated. It's a sad situation overall.
Absolutely, it is. And I would like to, end this on a greater note, or yeah, definitely on a good note. I want to talk about this social group that you have started here in New York City for same gender loving men of color, and it's right now it's been it has a very active Facebook group, and it's called Moonlight NY. Can you tell me
Right.
more about? Well, I already know about it, but for those who are watching this video, can you tell us about Moonlight NY or Moonlight Men NY?
Sure. I mean, I would say like the way I see it in my mind, it's like a group for grown and sexy, mature men. Mature could be, you know, mentally mature or just age-wise, you could say. But basically, what it is, we're trying to do something different. They have like the group is basically based on a bunch of men who actually live in the New York area. You know, basically get together online and we share information about events, shows, gatherings, whatever it might be. We share these events. We discuss different events, discuss different issues related to our needs, and we basically like spend time actually offline. We actually make plans to go offline and actually go to these events. So we actually get together. We actually go into like let's say like an art event. We go there, we spend time together, we have drinks, we walk around, we discuss the art. We usually have a meal after. So we actually make new friends. So it's all about communicating, socializing, and making new friends rather than using the regular the dating apps or the other things. I mean,
Hookups.
it's not yet, because it's not really about dating overall. It's just about basically making new friendships. I mean, things may happen from the friendships sometimes, but the whole idea is make new friends in a different way, having people get together and be positive and support each other.
And it's very successful. I mean, the group has been around, you say, more than 2 years or close to 3 years?
I think it's about almost 2.5 years. So we have more than 600 members. And these are people living within the New York area. It could be New York, Philly, New Jersey, Delaware, Connecticut. They all get together and we're all online and we all like, it's like brotherly love. We're online, we share information. Sometimes we have our little, you know, complications where little disagreements, but it's
debates.
Like debates and everything else. But it's cool. It's cool. It's fun.
It really is. And so I encourage you, if you live in the New York area or even visiting or make frequent visits to New York area, to join or to learn more about the organization, just go to Facebook, search Moonlight, like the film, Men, NY for New York, and go under the group section to find it. Should be the first one in your search, and join. And it's just, you know, simple as that. So, Rock, I really appreciate you being here and sharing your story with me. I really hope that those who are watching find some positivity, find some inspiration in your story, and especially, you know, just with what's going on, what's going on. And I wish you the best in taking care of your health. I know you do it, but you know, I still wish you the best. And thank you for being a part of this interview.
Thank you, man. I do appreciate the time, and this is a great idea. I'm glad to be able to share my story with you and the rest of the world, and hopefully it touches somebody or maybe inspires somebody. And again, thank you for this platform.
Absolutely. Everyone, stay tuned to the G List so you can find out how to connect with Rock and Moonlight NY in the description. Until next video, go ahead. You got something?
Yeah, one small thing. It's Moonlight Men NY. That's it. Moonlight Men NY.
Moonlight Men NY. I should know because I've been in the group for over a couple of years. So yeah, cool. So I will leave the information to connect with Rock, to connect with Moonlight Men NY. And until next video, I am Waddie G, the founder and editor of the G Listed. Have a great day, everybody. Peace.